So now that we have our animations created, we're going to add that progress bar that's going to display the duration of each animation. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to augment our HTML. We're going to go into our HTML, and here I have this div that is closing the mask. So still inside my article, but after that mask div, I'm going to make another div, and this one is going to have a class of progressBar. And that's it. This progressBar is just going to contain the function that shows the progress of the animation. So that's all I need to do inside of my HTML. We're going to go back into the CSS, and let's just come underneath all the CSS that we have so far. And I'm just going to make a comment that says progressBar. And so we'll make a rule for .progressBar. We're going to set its position to relative. We'll go ahead and we'll specify the top position. So I'm going to use -5 pixels, which is just going to pull this up a little bit. I just wanted to kind of be within the confines of the picture frame, so it's going to sit right above the bottom portion of the picture frame. And we'll specify the width. So the width of this needs to extend the width of the picture. So our images are 700 pixels wide. We might need to make this a little bit smaller, but let's just make it 700 pixels for now. I'm going to add a height, and the height is just going to be 5 pixels. So we're not going to make it very tall. And let's just set the background color to white. And let's see what that looks like. So if we save and we refresh, you can see that here's the white bar. So it does look like it's fitting where we want it to be, and it's extending the width of the picture. So that looks pretty good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up our keyframes, and then we can add some animation. So for the @keyframes rule, let's just call this p-bar. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up keyframes where the progress bar is going to remain stationary. So this is going to happen at 0%, at 20%, at 40%, 60, and 80%. And let's just put it at 100% too. So what we'll do at these percentages is we're going to specify that the width is going to be 0%. And I'm also going to specify that the opacity is going to be also at 0. And then we're going to now make the keyframes where the progress bar is going to kind of come to life. So that's going to happen at 4%, 24%, 44%, 64%, and 84%. And these numbers are actually correlating with the values that we have plugged into our keyframes up here. So when we have the opacity at 1 and the top value at 0, that's where all these numbers are coming from. So I'm going to plug in these values right here, and we're going to specify that the width is going to be at 0%, and we'll specify that the opacity is going to be like at 30%. So we're going to use 0.3. And then I need to set up the keyframes for where we want the progress bar to move forward for 3 seconds. So this is going to happen at the location of where our animation is taking place. On the first keyframe, that's going to be at 16. On the second keyframe, that's going to be at 36%. On the third one, it's going to be at 56%, 76%, and 96%. So those are going to be the percent values that I'll plug in here. And we're going to specify that the width is going to be 100%, and our opacity is going to be at 70%, so I'll use 0.7. And now we're going to specify the keyframes where the progress bar has finished its path. So again, if we come back to the keyframes that we already plugged in, this is going to happen as soon as this step has been completed. So for the first one, it's going to be 17. For the second one, it's going to be 37. For the third one, it's going to be 57, and so on and so forth. So all of these numbers are actually just increased by 1 from the numbers that we plugged in the previous set of percent values. And for right here, we're going to specify that the width is 100%, and we're going to bring our opacity down to 30% again. And then we simply need to specify the keyframes where the progress bar is going to disappear, and then it will essentially resume its cycle. So these numbers are going to occur at, for the first one, let's use 18%. I'm just going to put something in between the 16 and 20. And for the second one, let's do 38%. Again, that's just going to be half of what this value is. And then I'll do 58%, and we're going to do 78%, and finally 98%. So those are the percent values that I'll use here. And we'll specify that the width is going to be 100%, and that our opacity is 0. And that should be it. Let's go ahead and let's add this animation in. So I'll go into the progress bar rule that we have. We're going to specify our animation property, and we're going to call the property of pbar. I'm going to tell it to play for 25 seconds. We'll go ahead and we'll use a ease out, and we want this to play for an infinite amount of time. And if we save this and go back to the browser and refresh, you should now see that the little progress bar is making its progress, and that's giving us an indication of how long that image is going to be on screen for. And so that portion of our application is now working correctly. So now we have this progress bar that's giving the user some sort of indication for how long this item is going to be on the screen.